Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some very astounding statistics here from the Anti-Defamation League that, for example, over 50% of domestic terror killings have been committed by white supremacists over the last 10 years or so, and about 75% of these killings were committed by right-wing extremists. The mass shootings in recent attacks in El Paso, Texas, and Buffalo, New York, killed a combined 33 people after posting racist manifestos citing their belief in white replacement theory. Mr. Ward, can you elaborate on why you have described the Buffalo shooting as part of, and here I'm quoting, unfolding of mission-oriented hate crimes? That was a quote.
Absolutely, Representative. Over the last 10 years, there's been an increase in a specific type of hate violence in this country, often referred to as mission-driven. Mission-driven means that there is a political ideology, there is a goal of undermining democracy, causing fear. This is different from what most hate crimes constituted previous to that period. Most hate violence, while despicable, was driven as a spontaneous reaction. Usually young people, young men, intoxicated, spur of the moment, driven by a conscious or unconscious bias. But what we're seeing in the country now, El Paso, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Charleston, are planned acts of violence that are driven by a worldview that believes that Jews are somehow part of a racialized conspiracy to destroy the white race. It is dangerous, and its attempt is to undermine democracy, to create instability, and to cause fear. And this is something different in the form of hate crimes that we have seen previously.
Thank you. My goodness. Mr. Siegel, can a statistical comparison be made between killings committed by white supremacists and killings by racially motivated extremists belonging to other groups like Black nationalists or even other categories of violent extremists identified by the DOJ and the DHS?
Thank you for the question. As you cited earlier, the data from ADL looking at extremist-related murders is very clear. 75% of extremist-related murders in the past 10 years have been carried out by right-wing extremists, and the majority of those by white supremacists. Now, that does not mean that extremist violence is the sole domain of any one extremist movement or group. We do count examples of Black nationalist, Islamist, left-wing murders as well, but they frankly pale in comparison to the data that we're seeing on the threats and violence from right-wing extremists.
Mr. Siegel, is it possible that the number of white supremacist-related killings is much higher than the available reporting suggests?
It is possible. Murders tend to get a lot of attention, but we also know that identifying a motive for some of those murders takes time, and we don't always have all the information until years later. So sometimes we have gone back and added more to our numbers based on revelations that come out during court proceedings, et cetera. So the numbers are quite high and probably even higher than the data we provide.
Well, following up on that, do murders committed by male supremacists or incels fit paradigm of hate-related killings?
Yes, so primarily the murders that we have tracked from extremist movements, they tend to be perpetrated by males, and incels, or involuntary celibates, those who are motivated by misogyny and hatred of women, that level of violence has significantly increased both in the US and North America more broadly.
Well, Hearing this, it's clear why DHS and DOJ have identified racially motivated violent extremists and militia violent extremism as the deadliest domestic terror threats facing the country. So I submit that.